Many people have problems with art and not with reality.
A way to sort of cause trouble.
Yeah, it does something strange with your head.
Welcome to the Undergang Armchair.
Bring it.
Yes, hello everybody. It's the summer vacation edition of the Undergang Armchair. I'm your host, Ando, and we are already on episode 38. Pretty unbelievable. I want to say welcome to any of the new listeners. I'm glad you guys liked last week's episode with Deanna. I think it's a really interesting project she's doing. And don't forget to support her Indiegogo campaign for the movie if you are interested. You can get to that via our website. I'm in Italy right now doing a little summer vacation, enjoying a nice Danish summer here, which is odd. Usually it's hot as hell here, but it's raining and cold this year. So yeah, global warming, woo! We got a great talk for you today with Vizer, a Hungarian-born artist slash technologist slash prototypist slash big thinker, ideal woman. I've been trying to think about it. I don't even know how to introduce what she does. There's so many things, but she works in the circles of, technology, art, research, philosophy. She does a lot of stuff, and so we got a long talk for you. We cover a lot of ground, which is perfect for long days at the beach or whatever you guys might be doing. So I'm going to leave it at that. Get ready for a nice long talk in which we cover a lot of ground, get to a lot of places. It's perfect for summer. And that's it. Let's go to the talk with Edit. I tried to look at your website and do some preparations.
Yeah.
But, I'm just really fascinated with the mixing. Like you sent an email where you said you try to blend design and art and technology and that sort of stuff. So that's kind of what I'm just interested in talking about is like the future of art and design through technology and that sort of stuff. Do you have one background that is specifically what you think of when you're talking about this sort of stuff? Is it technology with a focus on design and art, or is it art with a focus on technology? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have a kind of academic background actually. So I'm coming from a theoretical world. Been studying, art theory and communication theories, journalistic also.
Was that back in Hungary?
Yeah, it was. My fascination actually, I think it's coming really much from the analytical part of art and design. And then I started to move over to the practical part.
Right, because it seems like you have a very hands-on approach.
Yeah, and I'm try to keep things like that.
Did you get tired of all the paper writing?
Also that, but I don't know actually. I have been also fascinated by, when I saw people doing practical stuff, even if it's like somebody sewing on a sewing machine
right.
or playing the drums or painting or whatever it is, or taking photographs. That was also part of my life for a short while. And then, I finally made a decision that I have to get some skills in that direction as well, so I can apply what I used to write on. I can apply it, more practically as well.
Right.
That I was feeling I was missing.
I can totally. I know what you're talking about because I, for many years, thought, it would be nice if I knew how to build things, or it would be nice if I knew how to do this or that. And then I got a job about 8 years ago as a frame maker. And through that, because we do mostly hardwoods and stuff, I've actually learned kind of basic carpentry and cabinetry. And it's so powerful to know you can actually do that yourself.
Exactly.
Because having to hire somebody to help you puts you in a weird position, right? You're saying, I can't do this, please do it for me, here's some money. Whereas you can just say, I can do this any way I want, like this, like that, whatever. It feels more rewarding to me somehow.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was one of the reasons that I felt the urge to learn these skills. And still today, when I get up and I start a project or start to brainstorm about a project and some things come up that I'm not quite able to do, and I know that I have to, ask somebody or get somebody to do it for me, that's not nice.
Yeah.
I want to do it myself.
Right.
And of course I self-teach myself a lot, and I dive into things that are unknown for me, which is also one of the nice parts, I think, in what I do and people that work in this field, they do. Because it's always like a lot of exploring and experimenting.
A lot of messing up.
Yeah, also that.
It.
But somehow I think I'm happy for my background still, because I can feel that I can put things into my ideas, into my projects that I couldn't if I only had the craft. The craft is very important, and of course, I'm learning, and I think I will never stop to learn. And of course, that also goes for the theoretical part.
Right.
You always step into new things, whatever you do. But kind of this mixture, I think it's very valuable.
Absolutely, and academia does help you have critical ideas and critical ways of thinking about things and exploring, reasons why things are, or, what the meanings behind ideas are and those sort of things. But I don't think I could ever survive in the academic world just in the realm of ideas. There has to be some sort of practical output. It doesn't even have to be practical. There has to be some sort of output, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly, but it depends what you can call an output. I mean, some people write books, and that's also a sort of output.
I consider that making something, in that way. I don't know. I guess it's just that the vernacular of academia, I think, is a little tough to. It's hard to be a good academic writer. That's something that people forget, because every once in a while you'll read an academic paper and be like, "Oh, this is amazing! I understand perfectly what they're trying to say. They're formulating their ideas correctly. They're not trying to be grandiose or using words which deliberately are vague, that sort of thing." But that's kind of rare.
Yes, and also one thing I kind of sense about academia is that you're kind of locked. You can be locked or feel like being locked sometimes, because there are rules you have to consider all the time. For instance, writing a paper. Yeah, I mean...
Right, it's a very specific set of guidelines how it should be done.
Exactly. It's not like, for instance, creative writing at all, where you can really put yourself out there in your style and everything.
Right.
And yeah.
I mean, I guess it's similar to art school in that way. Like, you have to learn how to paint well before you can paint abstract. That's the old idea. But
that's one thing I think it's very liberating about art, and actually also design. It depends what kind of design we're talking about. That you don't have these very strict set of rules. At least I don't feel like it when I'm working in the field. So you can allow yourself to be more experimenting, probably. And for instance, these days I'm very fascinated about design fiction, where you don't wanna change the future. You don't wanna solve problems. Like, okay, let's say we need a better service for, I don't know, DSB or whatever.
Right.
But you don't want to solve problems like that, but you look into the future and imagine how it could be. I mean, it's kind of also an experiment, an exploration about, also you can consider it if you really want like a user test, or I can think of it as a user test, like figure out if it at all works or would work for the future before you actually make it, So
this is a way of trying to actually experiment your way forward into the future with technology. To say, like, this is a prototype for something which could work in 20 years.
No, actually, I don't think you have to think about this is a prototype that could work in 20 or 40 years. But just put it out there and and see what kind of reactions you get, or how people are using it or not using it, or they actually don't even need to use it. What kind of experiences they gain, for instance.
I do like the idea of design fiction. It does make me immediately think of sci-fi novels, though.
Yeah, it's actually very connected. Last semester at the school we had this course. I think the inspiration is coming from there, where we worked a lot with design fiction and speculative design, and actually was watching a lot of sci-fi movies. Right.
And I mean, that's Isaac Asimov and all those kind of books. Where you think, okay, is this machine at all possible? Or is That's great. I mean, you guys doing that, it makes you like the astronaut of design. You're out at the farthest reaches of what might be possible in terms of design and technology. Which means, something might go wrong, something might break.
Yes, but it feels very liberating that you don't have, like this usually in design where you call it a wicked problem.
A wicked problem?
A wicked problem, yeah. Complex problems with a lot of aspects and so on.
Right, and that's what the design is for, is to try to solve this problem.
And also most of the institutions they're actually like educating their designers to solve these problems.
Right.
But what I really like to do, it's more the speculative experimental part, where you actually, of course, you still have to solve a problem. It's always about that in one or another way. Also when you do art, or when you do critical art as well, you don't solve the problem like directly, but you put a question mark or you shout in one or another way.
Right.
Or kick somebody, behind.
Right. It just seems like, I guess you make a lot of prototypes, right? That would be the actual result of this sort of thing.
I don't know if I'm doing a lot of prototypes, but yes, I mean, I do some way of sketching all the time. It can be a lot of different things, a prototype or just like a part of a prototype, a material exploration of some kind, or a technological exploration of some kind, or electronic sketching of some kind, or fabrication technique that I have to test and also probably develop skills in.
Right. Also learn how to do it. That's also a big part of it. But I mean, do you end up producing any final products, or is it often like just an exploration of an idea, of a concept, of a technology, of a sort of thing?
I would like to say I produce products, but most of the things I'm doing, it's not really products.
Right.
I mean, I used to do interactive installations, and today I'm studying interaction design, so I suppose I have to call what I'm doing that, but I still see my stuff in between.
Right.
And also, a lot of things that I'm doing, it's based on the experience, the over experience of things, and it can be experience with a product, if we call it a product, or a service, or the actual installation, or an environment that you step into.
So it also has a lot to do with the people who engage with it on whatever level.
Yeah. So participation is always a part of what I'm doing in my work.
Right.
Even if there's a gadget or product or what we call it, or a prototype, a functional prototype, of course, always there are users or participants or the audience or what we call them.
Right. Well, it seems on your website, often when you photograph or present the things you've worked on, people are using them.
Exactly.
And they're being interacted with, and that's what they're for, obviously, for the most part. You don't hang it on the wall and just say, "Look at that." The stuff's for using.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes actually this usage is it's hidden actually. of course, people are or should be aware that they are part of something. You cannot really hide it, right? Because, for instance, if you step into an exhibition space, that you accept something to happen. But it's very interesting, actually. I had these moments where we designed, actually, it was our bachelor exhibition. It was a responsive environment in a theater, in a little theater room. And there was an over atmosphere, and things were happening a little bit, you know, in the scenery. And but if you didn't start to interact in the space, in the room, you were just there or were sitting there, very silent and making no movements, that your experience would be basically just that. And in this way, it's also interesting how people choose to have their own experiences. Like if you dare to explore more, your experience is actually also growing.
Right. Right. But it's weird because that context as a viewer is like, oh, I'm in a thing now. And how do I respond to this thing?
Yeah, there are these different levels of interaction,
exactly.
Of course.
But I like the idea of having it be unexplained. And people have to figure it out. You know, which is kind of the nature of play. I mean, I do read sometimes studies with children about play and stuff, and it turns out a child will be entertained by something far longer if you don't tell them how it works.
Exactly.
If they have to figure out how it works on their own. If you tell them how to work, they'll play with it for a little while and then put it aside.
Yeah, but also it's very interesting that you mentioned children, because I often experienced that children are coming with their parents to an interactive installation or just a little gadget to test it, or like there's this display of demos, for instance, we had once, and they're coming, the whole family, and the children are very excited, curious about, wow, can I touch? Of course. And then they start to play around, and for instance, they start to create sound with their hands.
Right.
It's very cool. And then the parents come and say, oh, don't touch it, you destroy it. And then they say, no,
right, please
it's
destroy
point.
it. That's
please.
what you're supposed to do.
I want to see you get it destroyed.
Yeah. But that's the thing, as adults, we're told constantly when you go somewhere, don't touch that. You know, think about an art museum. You're not supposed to touch anything unless you have specific directions to do so. You know, and so it's hard to let go of that. To say, oh, right, I can just do what I want.
Yeah, of course, we're educated in, look at the small signs, do not touch, and please do not step. And
right, and guards standing in the corner.
Yeah,
going,
exactly. Cannot even take a photograph.
So where did this all start for you? I mean, okay, let's go way back. You're from Hungary.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Where in Hungary are you from?
It's a tiny town called Örkény.
Did you grow up, is it kind of like just a village out in the middle of nowhere kind of thing?
Yeah, it's a kind of, peripheral town to Budapest.
Okay, so it wasn't far from the city.
No, not far.
Did you immediately think, or did you grow up thinking, I gotta get out of here?
No, never, actually, but it came automatically, so probably that's why I never thought about that. At the age of 10, I started to go to another school in another town, and basically I went there for 8 years. So yeah, and
What, you get kicked out of the school in your hometown or what?
no, there was not much possibility, many possibilities to pick from between school and school.
Right.
There's basically one, and my parents thought that I shouldn't go there because it was probably not, a high level.
Right, they didn't like the school, which is smart to do. You should probably send your kids to a school that you respect.
And then they actually sent me to this, it's actually called high school, even if you start at the age of 10.
Okay.
And it's 8 years of high school.
Wow. So it goes from 10 till 18. It does, what would that be, grades 5 to 12 or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Like that? Yeah.
And it was a bit of a hardcore education and preparation for university and college. I don't know if it was good for me or not. I sometimes think of it, and I'm pretty much in doubt because I got, a lot of, lexical knowledge, or what is it called?
Yeah.
And not much using my hands.
But isn't that, I mean, I don't think almost anybody did in terms of like Western education. You know, it is, you sit in the classroom, here's this math, this is how you work it out, go home and study, there's a test on Friday.
Yeah, so that was pretty much my early life, and probably one of the reasons that I actually made my escape to Denmark when I was 16. I went to school here for 1 year.
Already when you were 16?
Yeah, I applied for an internship.
Why
or
Denmark?
Not internship, a scholarship.
Why Denmark?
Yeah, good question.
What the hell, what did Denmark mean to you when you're in Hungary and you're just like, there's this country up north?
To be honest, I think because there came the opportunity and I just took it.
Right.
And if it was, somewhere else, I would have done the same.
Right.
If I know myself right.
That's how life is. Things happen and there you are.
And so I've been here for one year at a boarding school in northern Jutland.
Okay. Speaking English?
Most of the time, yes. And at that time, I kind of had my German skills, but
okay.
But I had to learn the language. So I was trying, and actually I learned Danish.
And so then you went back when you were 17. Oh, well, was it good? Did you enjoy that year?
Yeah, I enjoyed. And I wouldn't say it was not problematic at all. I was 16.
It's a problematic year, being 16.
So, and I was pretty much missed from home. But...
You mean like you were homesick, or you mean like they missed you?
They missed me.
They wanted you to come home.
I was happy to get out, I guess.
Yeah. So, were you interested in technology at that point?
I don't know if you can put it in that way. I was very much experimenting at that point.
With what?
With everything, basically. So instead of looking into books and studying a lot and going to school, do the same, going home, do the same. Instead, I was doing everything that I could do. I mean, I think in a way I overworked myself because I probably took too many classes on me. But I felt like probably that's the explanation. I had to, find my way, and I didn't know, and I was in that process. I was hungry for new things.
Right.
So it was that time I actually started to take photographs and learn how to develop my own photos and stuff and using analog old machines. And that was fun.
Sure is.
Yeah. So yeah, in that way, probably that was the moment when I opened my eyes for that kind of a word.
Or just making things.
Yeah, I think... In a way, I was just also enjoying to make things,
right.
and it was very liberating to do something different, and actually enjoy it and start to think about aesthetics as well.
About aesthetics, yeah. Right, which is right. Then you really start thinking about what does it mean, what is art, and how do you, on and on and on.
Yeah, I remember I was taking a lot of portraits. That was what I was enjoying most. And I don't know what was the explanation, but probably just,
You like people.
Yeah.
I mean, your work still interacts with people, so...
That's right.
In a way, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But, so when you went back to Hungary...
I had to finish high school.
Were you like, fuck?
Yeah. It was not fun. It took a little time to get used to things again.
Yeah.
But... I had to think of what now.
Right.
And
that's the big question when you're 18.
Yeah.
So what now? What happened?
And then I picked communication and media. And then I kind of wanted to keep up with my Danish language. And I was interested in literature always, so it seemed like a good mixture. Okay, I can get to more about Scandinavian literature and language, so I picked that. And on the side I picked media studies and journalism.
Okay, so you were actually studying Scandinavian literature.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And it's very interesting because I really enjoyed it, to analyze and just to be in that kind of word. It was like this double word. I like to analyze it as well, write about it as well, speculate about it, but I also just like to be immersed, you know, in those words, universes.
Right.
But then somehow, yeah.
Was that in Budapest you were studying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Budapest.
So at least then you lived in a big city.
Yeah, for 5-6 years, yeah.
Yeah. What, so you got a degree then?
No.
Yeah, what happened?
Never got to finish it, and I think I'm not sad about it anymore, but there was times when I never managed to finish.
Hey, I feel you. I'm a college dropout. High five. I never finished either. And, you know, I do feel sometimes like, yeah, maybe I should have just put in the last final effort and finished. But at the same time, you know, it's sometimes you just realize it's easier and better if you know what you want to do, to just go and do it. I mean, okay, if you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer, clearly you need to finish your education. But if you're going to be an artist, you know, maybe it'll help you, maybe it won't. You know, it's kind of up in the air.
Yeah, I think there are different opinions about that as well. But, you know, I mean, my story was, I don't know what my story was. So basically I did the 5 years. At that point in Hungary there was no bachelor and master's separated.
You did them both. Right.
Yeah. So it was basically the 5 years, and then you get a master in the end. If you don't finish, you get nothing. So this is my story.
Brutal. That's a pretty brutal system. I mean, it's all or nothing.
Yeah, I mean, in the meantime, I came to Denmark for 2 semesters.
Now, did you come back because you were like, okay, I've been here before. I'm studying Scandinavian literature. I speak some Danish. I want to go back.
Exactly, and then I came back as a guest student and studied 2 semesters in Aalborg.
Oh, from the university in... okay, got it.
Yeah, so kind of like an exchange thing.
Right.
And the point was to, of course, to be better at the language, research more in the literature world, and then get my thesis done. Which never got done.
So you did the first 2, but not the third one.
Oh yeah.
But you didn't finish the thesis.
No.
What, did you just run out of steam? You lost interest, or what?
No, I think that was a confusing time, to put it short.
Yeah. I got you.
There were too many things on the table,
right.
and I had to sort things out. So I went back to Hungary and started to work on my thesis after that year. So okay, let's do it now. But there were still too many things on the table. So yeah, other stuff got prioritized, I guess.
It wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, and then I started my bachelor in Aalborg in Denmark, which I finished.
So you just said, "Fuck it, I'm starting over."
I guess I did.
Did you get any credits from your old school when you came to Denmark, or did you?
No, I absolutely started from scratch.
Wow.
And that was actually, I think it felt good. It felt good.
Right, so obviously that other program didn't sit well with you. I mean, because if you felt good about starting over somewhere else, clearly wherever you were and almost done with was not right. For whatever reason, you know.
I don't know if it was not right. That was my decision that time.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if I chose to be in that world still, I would be in that world right now. And probably it would be okay.
Right.
But something in me said shouldn't make that decision.
Right. Well, good for you.
Because, you know, it's not because there are not things that I don't miss. For instance, the writing. The analytical part and the creative writing.
Right,
I kind of miss that. And now that I'm among languages, I feel kind of schizophrenic about these things. Am I still able to write in that way? being between different languages is a good thing or a bad thing. How can I profit from it, and
it's
so on and so on.
It's a unique set of challenges,
Yeah.
you can say. I mean, I know what you mean. I do speak Danish, and I live here, but clearly English is my first language. You know, and in a way, I'm lucky because it's a language which is broad. I mean, a lot of people speak English, etc. But I wouldn't be able to write papers in Danish. No way. You know, I didn't go to school here. My grammar is absolutely atrocious. You know, so it is you feel kind of helpless in a way when you live in another country and you have these like weird linguistic in-betweens. Because you speak Danish too, right?
Yeah.
Would you be able to write academic papers in Danish, do you think?
On a certain level, yes.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that, you know, it would probably not be accepted at a conference.
Right.
I'm not sure. I
Right.
never tried. But, of course, when I had to work on my thesis, Danish was the language.
Right.
And
Wow.
and I don't have difficulties, you know, like reading any kind of stuff in the language. But
So you're probably better than I am, or you are better than I am. But you've also been to school here.
yeah, I mean, in Denmark, both my bachelor and now my masters are English spoken.
So you did your bachelor's in Aalborg.
Yeah.
In what?
That was art and technology.
Okay.
So there was the point where technology really got a part of my
Right,
life,
right.
my academic life, but funnily, but because it was a very academic study.
Okay,
still.
it wasn't very hands-on.
It was actually also very hands-on, but still very academic. You always had to reflect on what you were doing.
Right, and write about it.
In a form of
and
paper.
research
And,
and-
yeah, exactly. But on the other hand, you had the process, the design process or artistic process that I'm still working with today, for instance, at the design school and in my private life as well.
Right.
So it was a very interesting mix of things. On one hand, very practical and learning programming and sketching electronics as well. Of course, not like you're going to be an engineer,
Right.
but
learning how to work with the tools on a basic
exactly.
level. Yeah.
And also, I think the study was kind of good to encourage you to teach yourself, to discover parts of the world of technology that you might need.
Right, and if
and
that's
then
not the
teach
most
yourself.
important thing, then
Probably,
because
yeah.
just having that mindset of being like, okay, I don't know how to do this, but I can figure out how to do this.
Yeah.
Just takes a lot of time.
It takes a lot of time. It does. But if you enjoy the process, of course you get frustrated. But if you also enjoy the part of the process where you can get frustrated, which I'm apparently enjoying, then it's fine.
It's a special kind of angry you get when you're trying to fix something.
Yeah.
I have a pair of headphones I've rewired like 6 times and they still won't work. And I'm just like, it's just these little wires, you know. It makes me so angry.
Yeah.
But,
But-
I'm going to do it. I am going to do it.
But it's probably also personal, the kind of question, because anger, I realize for me, sometimes can be a drive, or actually
Oh,
not
yeah.
sometimes, it can be a drive.
Right. Right, I'm fucking angry and now it needs to work. You know? Yeah, I know what you mean.
Also that, but just, being angry about other things as well. And then you kind of misplace that anger into something else, put
Right.
it into something else.
To use it for some sort of positive thing.
Yeah.
What happened after Aalborg? I mean, you're getting your master's now. Did you immediately say, okay, I'm going on, I'm going to do
No, I took 1 year off
Huh.
after my bachelor's. I felt like I had to go further.
Yeah.
Because I didn't feel like, I had all the skills, and I had I had this year when I experimented a little bit. Also, is it possible to find a job? Is it possible to use what I can provide in the settings I'm interested in applying these skills?
So?
It was hard.
Yeah. So, did you find something or no?
A
A year is obviously not enough.
Actually, I think I can say I was lucky because I had things to do. I was busy.
That's good.
but I couldn't survive from those projects. But I was busy.
Right. Which is a good start. That's the way you work up to making money in a way. Is you get involved somehow.
And I'm happy for that year because I got to do some small and bigger projects that taught a lot of things about me and why I'm actually doing this. And that was the point where I decided, okay, let's go further. I want to go further.
And so here you are now. You got a year left of your master's in design school.
Yeah.
And you've just done a semester at the Information Technology University in interaction design, right?
Yeah, that was my internship.
Right.
At the Interaction Design Lab, yeah.
So when you're done in a year from now, do you have a clear idea about how you're gonna move on?
Oh God, I wish I had. I think I have too many ideas. I certainly know that. Yeah, I want to stay in the field, of course, and I'm very much interested in working together with other people, like in a collaborate with other people. I don't know if how it can work out yet, but
well, I guess to me it seems like the big question is if you're going to go more in an art direction, which we all know there's no money in, but it could be fun. A design direction, which there's a fair amount of design in Denmark, right? And someone is probably doing design involving technology.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know what kind of jobs are there in the technology direction. Would that be design? I guess. I mean, you're obviously not going to get a job making computer chips. That doesn't happen here.
No, it's not my skill anyways. So
what would be the type of job you would get from a technological skills point of view?
From the technological skills, I think probably we can call it like creative technology, like being a creative technologist. People usually say these days. It could be, for instance, for a firm that applies interaction design, and they need to get, or experience design, and they need to get, a new kind of experience for even hospital patients,
Right, so you could maybe even do experiments, make prototypes and interact with people, see how they work, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I can imagine these places exist.
Yeah.
Smaller, bigger firms with a little department when they dedicate time and energy to exploring things like that and developing all sort of things like services, gadgets, products, even installation like situations that they put out in a hospital, in a concert hall, I don't know, in a school, kindergarten, whatever, and then they test them, go back, work further, put it out again, test them.
Could you imagine doing a job like that? Do you think that would be fun? I mean, I guess it totally depends on what you're doing. But it sounds like you do enjoy working with people. You do enjoy designing things,
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah.
Because I believe I would enjoy it, but I'm not sure I would enjoy it, if it was always that and only that.
That's what jobs are, though.
Yeah.
For the most part, you do something and that's what you do,
Yeah.
What about the art world?
I'm actually thinking more and more about that probably I feel like I'm moving away more and more because probably because of the design perspectives I got introduced to, and it actually didn't start at the design school. Already before that, I realized I worked with these methods and techniques that actually designers are working with, and not necessarily in an artistic process. But that's why when I'm I call myself, this professional in-betweener sometimes, how to define yourself, this word in between art, design and technology, because you take things from one, put into the other, and I don't think I will ever stop doing that, and I don't want to. I think it's actually a very fruitful collaboration between these fields.
Right. Well, it's rich. There's a lot to work with there.
Yeah.
But the problem is we live in a world in which people want you to be able to package what you do and sell it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's going to be hard.
So that's my to-do, for the next year.
You're a problem solver.
Do I want to be a problem solver? Yeah, or not, for instance. But I'm pretty sure this year will be hard because it will be a lot of fighting with myself. Mm-hmm. I also have to decide what to work on, for instance, in my final project. Mm-hmm. Gives sometimes a headache when I think about it.
Well, I mean, you're gonna, opening one door means closing another. You're gonna
exactly.
have to at some point get a little more focused.
Yeah, and this is what I'm trying to do, and also made this promise to myself: anything I do from today to the day I'm finished, I have to work into that direction. I cannot just say, now I'm just doing a little experiment thing from here and there. It has to be on the road somehow.
Right.
And it
although that's a pretty wide thing. You could say, well, it might inform. I know. But let's talk about some of the projects you have done, because I did, like I said, look over your website.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating, but it's chaotic. There's a lot there, and the things that I mean, almost all of the things you've done, you can't easily just look at and go, oh, okay, I get that. You have to set yourself into it and understand, what was this designed for? How does it work? It's not like, I look at a lot of art online, and, you click through somebody's pictures, you go, okay, that's a painting, okay, that's a sculpture, and you can't do that with yours. You go, what the hell is that? Yeah. What does it do? There's somebody using it, like, what? And that's to your credit. I think that's a really good thing. But, that goes back to, again, like a matter of packaging, of course, too. But what have you worked on, let's say, this year that is interesting to you, and what is it about it that's interesting?
Yeah, I mean, this certain year, I mostly dedicated my time to my internship, which was pretty much a research project.
Okay.
But
right, you were working in the lab at ITU, right?
Yeah, exactly, in collaboration with a researcher at the lab, and the manager actually also of the lab, and basically on her research project.
Oh, okay.
Which was what I would call a practice-based design project, research project. I think it would give more meaning if I would go back a little and pick something I worked on for half a year ago, which was this design fiction kind of inspired project I did at the school in Curling. Mm-hmm. And it was not that long of a process. It was 2 months, I think.
That's not long. That's short.
Sometime, I mean, apart, I don't know.
It's all relative, right?
It's very relative, but for instance, before that in Aalborg, we had a whole semester to work on one certain project.
Right.
Also on side projects as well, but there was kind of a whole semester dedicated to one big project. So according to that, it's short time.
Right.
But for other students, I remember from Curling, they already thought, wow, it's really a long time. And they were confused about the 2 months of time, how to fill it out, and how to make progress, and how to get to the final design. Right. So it was a bit strange for me, because I usually, when I work, or when I did before at least, I don't start with a kind of a method. I chose my methods afterwards, but I think they're fitting to my project. But here it was kind of told, okay, it's design fiction. So you have to go home, sit down and think about the so-called what-if scenarios and think about future and speculate a lot. So my what-if scenario was, what if in the future people are not able anymore to have control over their own memory. It's kind of taken from you. There's this higher sci-fi power that...
Like a mainframe computer or some shit that has it? Or?
Whatever,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
Some kind of power that that you don't even know about, probably.
So far, this is a great book. I'm reading this.
Yeah. I think actually Dark City, if you have seen the movie, it got a big influence on me at that time.
Yeah, no, I'm a big science fiction reader and also a movie watcher.
Yeah. So this dark environment from the movie, and also, just the dark colors, and this not really utopistic word was influencing me a lot. And then I came up with this, okay, how can I make a design for this scenario? And previously I also worked a lot in the direction of tangible design and basically just exploring senses, different modalities in design or artistic design as well. So I went back to the senses and kind of took them one by one and looked at them. How can I connect these senses and use of the different particular senses to my scenario? And in the end, I tried to make an attempt to a synesthetic design, where you go through work with all of the senses, not really at the same time, but of course
the boxes,
the box with the glasses, jars, test tubes.
Yes.
So basically, it was an experiment, what I did, and it's participatory. So yes, it's a bit hard to explain if you don't have the setup in front of you and you're actually not sitting in front of it and put into the scenario or the environment and have the overall experience.
Yeah.
And this is the case with many of my other things. So this work was like, okay, now we are in this underground dark city kind of setup where you have to be the rebellion, make rebellion according to get your memory back in a way that it's not decodable only by you as an individual. How can you do it? And somehow I ended up archiving your memory as a sound piece, a sound landscape, a file basically that you can take home. In a sci-fi world, you would be able to take it home in a form of an object that you can collect at home. You can collect different memories and make like a real collection of archive of your old memories. You mean
like things you hang on the wall or
for instance,
of your memories?
Exactly. And then if we were in the future, you would of course have access to a device where you can, for instance, put this object onto or into, and then you can unlock your archive and listen to it. And by listen to it, it's also very like it's a feedback loop in a way, because then you it can trigger old memories, but it can also make new ones.
Okay.
And this kind of feedback loop, I think it's interesting.
What makes the memory limited, right? It has a start and an end. And it goes around in a circle.
So actually, it would be fun to really put out to people, users, what we call them, and make a wider test round with this work.
I mean, this kind of thing could certainly exist in an art context. for example, and interaction in art, I think is a growing thing. I saw an art piece yesterday which was a huge plastic model of a naked man, and then they had it set up so the guests or the people viewing the artwork could draw. They had it all set up like a life drawing class. You know, and that was great because you went to a gallery, you got a beer, and then you got to sit down and make a drawing, you know, which was very interactive. So not only did you look at the art, but you made your own interpretation of that art. You know, and so that could be a way to gather more information for this project for you. Do you have a problem where once you make something, you just immediately are on to the next thing? And the old thing is just kind of...
Oh, yeah, I have so many of those.
Because I have the same thing. I'll make something, and instead of working on trying to present it or give it life, I just like, okay, I'm done, and then, you know, what's next, you know?
I don't always consider them as done at all. For instance, this box, because it's basically, shaped as a box, and then, of course, there's content in the box, and your participation plays a big role.
Right, and it folds out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because actually it's a several step thing.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it would be so great to go back and yeah, for instance, just put it somewhere, exhibit it somewhere, and see the reactions, and see how it is actually used or not used, and what people get out of it or not, and gather these experiences back. And then probably I would find out, all right, I mean, it was an experiment anyways, but I would find out things that I could do in a new design.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Hopefully you learn something every time, and you can... I guess you're going to have to, no, you don't have to at all, but one day you can create your Megatron machine that uses everything that you've ever done, you know.
Oh my God, no.
But I mean, it seems like right now in your career, you're doing more experiments than you are, like you're still gathering knowledge about what it is and trying things out and interacting with people.
Yes, exactly. But I actually think it's always the thing with interaction and interaction design. I don't consider this process to be like, okay, you necessarily have to make something final. I don't see this process as, you know, a furniture kind of process that you make a furniture. Of course, there are also stages there.
Sure.
You have to go through, but in the end you end up with one chair in the shop, right?
And you can sell it and make
you can
money for the work you made.
I cannot say the same about what I'm doing, because even if, you know, it was actually, came to my mind when it was 1.5 years ago, one of my installations got exhibited in a place where it was, you know, everything was set to sell, all the artworks. And my piece is an interactive piece that only works if there's a participant who interacts and basically puts a sensor on and lies on a bed and gets this sonic visual landscape of an environment and experience out of it. And then I was standing there thinking, great, even if I give it a price, you know, what the hell it should be.
Right.
What is the experience
What is this worth? Right.
I didn't do that, of course. I didn't put a price. It would have been so silly.
Did someone else put a price?
No. But of course, I don't think art collection today is, you know, it's there.
It can be, but it's in the upper levels. You need to have a name.
Of course.
I mean, you know, Olafur Eliasson does design. He has a huge team of designers. It's a little bit more aesthetic and visual based, but it's also engineering and that sort of stuff. But he's Olafur Eliasson. He's a world famous artist, and so he can sell to museums or get commissions and that sort of stuff. Yeah. But I mean, there's a whole world of art too, which is art commissioning, where people hire you to make something for them.
Exactly.
So instead of making it and trying to sell it, you're actually hired to make something for a site, for a thing, for whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But again, that's the art world, and that has its unique set of problems, assholes, all that sort of stuff. So, I don't recommend it necessarily. It would be nice to have you, because I think what you're doing is very interesting. And I think art and technology has a lot of room to grow in the art world. But the art world is so specified. It's really hard to jump in and out of the art world. The only person I know who kind of does it is Ken Goldberg.
One thing came to my mind about art and technology that I always used to say, and I actually still believe when I think of art and technology. I remember once at my bachelor we had to make our manifesto.
Ooh.
And I really, trying, but
right.
always the same sentence came back to me, which was, technology shouldn't be the goal in itself. It has to add, extra value to the art, to the piece.
Or to life, even, or to whatever.
Yeah, because sometimes I think, people get very much confused about what actually it is about, art and technology, and what is the technology part of it, and why is it important, and what role does it play or not play, or should play.
Right.
Because yes, we have gadgets, and aesthetics are always important. But I think it was a manifesto I presented at that time in the class, because I was so fed up with this over technologized world that everything has to blink, and you always have to push a button, and then always something strange or not strange happens, and I don't know, these kind of expectations I don't really see much perspective in.
Right. Well, I mean, technology can drown in its own technology-ness. Like the point, you said it very well. It should aid and abet other things. But I think that's kind of we're at an interesting point right now with technology, because people are starting to think about the design and interactive elements of technology. Yeah, great, you can make a computer, but in which way are you presenting this computer? Why is it a box, a monitor, a keyboard, and a mouse? When in fact it could be all sorts of different formats that a computer comes in.
Yeah, exactly.
And they even say, I know there's studies where if you make a robot, a cute fuzzy robot, and give it to somebody in the hospital, and the robot smiles and is sweet to them, they react emotionally to it like it's a real fuzzy living creature. Maybe not quite as much as a real puppy, let's say, but they do nonetheless.
Yeah.
And that shows how important the design of technology is, and it goes also very heavily into robotics. But
these things are super interesting, I think. And I think about these things, I call it more design than art, but still aesthetics and some probably artistic input still can be important.
Right, the audience reaction is definitely taken into account. Well, I mean, that could be a potential for work for you, or a final. You could think about this sort of user engagement and aesthetics type of project. I mean, because obviously you seem like you want to. You haven't gone as far as to say help people, but you do want to engage with people.
I want, and I find this, all kinds of interaction with people very, very interesting. And also actually helping them in a way. For instance, when I was working in this deafblind institution, it was my study job for many years. I worked there as a helper, so I got very familiar with the community there. Also the deafblind community, the institutionalized people, like users, but also that caretakers and all kinds of people, ergotherapists, physiotherapists.
Right,
and so on.
everybody involved.
Yeah, exactly. And for instance, I think probably my fascination about the use of senses might have a connection there with this word, because senses and the use of senses, sense integration and so on is so important when you work together with these people, but also being one of them, it's very essential. Everything, at least one or two of your senses is probably totally cut out. So what is left, you really have to learn how to use, how to involve. And also, for instance, such things as creating a new language, communication language with these users. How is it able to do? How is it able to do that? It's actually fun, playful, interesting. It engages the senses and certain sense in the right way, and it helps the community in one or another way. Also look at the activities that are happening in this community, what they are, how can they be involved, and how can they put an extra. If you put an extra, that is actually a meaningful extra and not just an extra. Many times it's also this art and technology design thing I see often that, okay, they put extra, but why?
Right.
Does it really necessary?
Right, and what does it mean, and what's it for? And
yeah. So all kinds of things like that, I think it's very interesting. So that's why it was the first time I really looked at the materials I'm working with. And I call a lot of things the material, also sound, but also things that I touch with my hand. How can I shape these materials into my reasons that the interaction is actually going to be meaningful?
Right.
And technology comes there at that point, because sometimes you need certain technology to do that.
Right.
To serve that value.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So and that's what it does. It works towards the goal you're trying to solve.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because what you're talking about, for example, with deafblind, a friend of mine just went to Cannes for a festival of it was both advertising but also all sorts of different ideas, and he saw a presentation from a Japanese company. They have made, I think it's just a prototype right now, but it's a device for blind children.
Yeah.
So essentially there's an iPad or something, you go up to it and you say giraffe, for example, and then there's a 3D printer and it prints out a giraffe so they can pick it up and hold it and see this is what it's shaped like. And so they have a database of things that, let's say they're being read a book or being told something, they can actually get a physical representation of this thing to understand better what it is. And that's exactly the sort of use of technology which can enrich people's lives and help I don't want to say educate, but help teach people with who are deprived of some of their senses about things in the world, Yeah,
and we also have to remember that this certain thing can actually work out totally in another way, probably not in a positive way in another setting. So context is always very important, and I think it's also something that always have to, context-based things I'm very fond of, because also this is one of the things that many times we forget. Okay, it works in one setting, but I'm not sure it will work in another setting. And here's my designer set can come handy when you actually can, evaluate these things somehow.
Sure. Right. Well, I mean, in the U.S., some of the best designers, engineers, intelligent people are employed making weapons. Like some of the best design goes towards murder. or spying on people, or whatever evil shit that governments do. And that it often occurs to me what a great resource that they could be used for to solve other problems. And that all goes back to the design and what the intention of the technology is. Technology isn't evil, good or evil. It's just a tool, right?
Yeah, exactly. At least I like to think about it as a tool.
Yeah.
also, for instance, this research project I was working on during my internship, there was, for instance, the computer that was looked at as material. So, again, further, it's not just a tool.
Right.
It's actually a material, right?
Right, it's a thing. It exists. It's out there.
And it's clever.
It is clever. Did you hear that recently they for the first time a computer passed the Turing test?
No.
What was it? 30% of people talking to a computer mistook it for a human. That just happened like 2 weeks ago or something.
Right.
And I read the transcript. Do you know the Turing test where people, like, you sit at a keyboard and you type back and forth and you're supposed to figure out, is it a computer I'm typing with?
Yeah.
And so, for the first time, they thought that, I think 30% of people thought that it could be a human. And now it was a foreign teenager, supposedly. It wasn't like, this is an adult speaking my language. And I read the transcript. I knew beforehand it was a computer, but I was like, nah, I don't think this is so believable. But, that's the kind of steps we're taking also in terms of interaction with machines, and a little bit. That'll be much more commonplace. Are you scared sometimes?
Yeah.
What's happening?
No, I'm not of the computer, but...
Well, I don't mean like our computer overlords that are going to come and enslave us, but like what technology can be used for the powers of it.
Yeah. I mean, I can be scared a lot, but not really of technology.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still people. It's the people who do the dumb shit.
On the other hand, when you watch these movies again, like Odyssey 2001, you can get scared of a little old computer, right? I can.
A computer the size of a refrigerator. Yeah. Sure, but I mean that's a movie, but there's the Matrix, people when the Matrix came out were like, oh my god, when in fact factually that's probably whatever. But just the rapid rate in which technology is expanding, I guess, can be a little frightening, but only to the people who.
Yeah.
I mean, just not knowing. I mean, it's a matter of not knowing. At this point now, technology is so far ahead of your average person. They don't know how their fucking iPhone works. They don't know anything about it. They don't know what kind of hard drive is in there. They don't know what kind of Wi-Fi receiver antenna there is in there. All that sort of stuff. I
mean, it's probably also a question of you're afraid of what you don't know about.
Exactly.
But you can be also afraid of something that you know too much about.
Yeah, but that's not your position.
No.
Well, I mean, I could go on forever about this sort of stuff because I think it's fascinating, and I think it's also fascinating because it's outside of my wheelhouse. I'm an analog photographer. I sit in the darkroom. I shoot on film, and I love these machines I use, but it fascinates me the capabilities if you start integrating ideas about technology and design. Obviously, my interest into art, but into anything, really, and the mechanization of everything we have in our life. The fact that your iPhone now can turn off your fridge or control the lighting and heating in your home. We're becoming so plugged in, and I think art is going to have to follow suit. It's going to have to join this world of connections and technology,
And in a way, I feel it does because there are a lot of comments coming to it. On the other hand, it's really interesting because, for instance, just a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I've been to this exhibition of the finalists from the art academy here in Copenhagen. And I was so looking forward to go and see what people coming from the media school, the media art department, what they've been doing. It's pretty much video art still, and
which is too bad in a way. I mean, I'm not shitting on video art, but that's something that's been around for 40 years.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, new stuff's always happening because video art is not the same today as it's been for 25, 30, 40 years ago. But
sure.
But still, I was a bit not unsatisfied, to be honest. That if I was also one time considering to apply, and can say, and I do it sadly, that I'm kind of happy I never did. And I'm actually going to the design school, where artistic projects are actually very much supported and welcome. Of course, there are aspects that are not really fitting together with the art world and the artistic approaches, but yeah, I
definitely think art schools are, I don't know if it's different in the US or here, but just in general, art schools aren't the place to go if you want to learn about cutting edge possibilities in technology. And that's why I was saying, like, if I now was to go to school again, I would probably go to an information technology university, because you can learn all about art by just becoming involved in the art world. You don't necessarily need to go to art school. There are other ways of immersing yourself in that world and learning how things work. Or you can go to art school afterwards. You could get a degree in design, technology, all that stuff, and then get a master's in art or something.
And many people are doing that actually, and I think it's a good mixture to have certain skills from here and certain skills from there.
Right.
For instance, this is what they do a lot, as far as I remember, in Cologne, at the media art school there. I've been there once to visit, and
Did you say Cologne in Germany?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. And their education is, I could probably say, pretty much without a curriculum. It's very hybrid and very open.
That's great.
Very fluid also probably, and a lot of self-teaching is going on. With supervision, of course, but they have people coming from all kinds of backgrounds, you know, and this I see as a very positive thing. So they have people from humanistic background, academic background, but they also have engineers, they also have anthropologists, biologists, and, you know.
Right, which goes back to kind of what you were talking about even way back in Hungary, where you went to a school where you felt like there weren't a lot of options in terms of your education. You know, interdisciplinary approaches to education, I think, are becoming more and more important.
Yeah, it does.
Because everything's becoming ultra-specified in a way, and that means you're great at one thing and nothing else. And you can't even, like, contextualize what you do outside of your area, you know. And so I think art schools definitely could use that to get some, you know. For example, I think they should, you know, I think the Danish Arts Academy here in Copenhagen should hire you, because you could help people understand you have a design background, you have a technology background, you have an interaction background. You know, this sort of thing would really help students understand that they can do more than just make video art. Because the people who really want to make video art should, but the people who also want to build crazy machines and interactive devices and, you know, use technology for the millions of options that it can be used for, don't have that option right now, I don't think.
I agree with you, but I also see this kind of tendency that interdisciplinary approaches, probably people are a bit afraid of it, because it's actually not an easy work interdisciplinary.
It's hard to be good.
It's not just that. It's actually it's hard to be, for instance, a part of an interdisciplinary team.
Right.
But the outcome, I think, it's super interesting.
Sure. I mean, yeah, there's a unique set of challenges in terms of the fact that the anthropologist has to agree with the artist, and or they have to figure some sort of middle ground out. But
I saw that, yeah.
Are you thinking of something different in terms of the problems?
Yeah, I mean, probably the process, it's a much longer process than it would otherwise be.
Right. And
probably also this time is not really taken into consideration many times when people put together in an interdisciplinary team, for instance. Because it's much more challenging and longer
but
process.
The product, like you say, the product's probably more durable.
Yeah.
Because when let's just say an anthropologist writes a paper about anthropology, it only applies to anthropologists. So for the most part, right? I mean, generally speaking, and so therefore, it's only considered in a certain way, you know. And so when you have something that's considered in 6 different ways, that whatever that is, it has a lot more power in the world, I'd say, because it uses, let's just say there's 6 different approaches. It uses all their knowledge to make something which is going to be more well-rounded, you know. And I guess I hope that's, you know, what ITU would be doing, and, you know, various educational institutes. But institutions are slow to change. We know this.
Educational aspects are actually one of my things. I find it very, very important, and probably it's one of the reasons that I like to do workshops, and I also like to do workshops with children, and I also like to do workshops together with, you know, in collaboration with the pedagogues,
pedagogues, yeah,
and other artists, also more traditional artists. I did this little round tour with a class or 2 classes of children last year, where it was actually about this. And also about, how to put education actually out of the 4 walls.
Right.
Can we do that at all? It was also a bit of an experiment. But, it really opened my eyes for it. There's a lot of potentials in it. It's hard, really hard to do, because, for instance, pedagogues are not easy to, you know, sometimes they do things in their own way.
Right. They have their specific education. And
exactly. And it could be one day it will happen.
Well, I mean, I think that actually is a way to remain interested in lots of things. Doing workshops or, education could be an option, which might give you also some freedom to work on your own projects and interests.
Yeah, at least I find it interesting to work in that sector, to say it like that.
Right. Well, I mean, I really do think this whole thing could literally go on forever, because it is so much to work with. But for this time, I want to say thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for inviting.
Yeah, such a nice talk, huh, guys? I really like that one, even though it was a little long. We certainly got to a lot of places, you know, and it's great to talk about everything. Education, cross-disciplinary approaches, technology, art, the whole thing. Everything we can get to, basically. So thanks to Edit for coming on the show. I want you guys to keep enjoying your summer, and I am going to go back to mine. I'll catch you guys again next week from an unnamed island in the north of Denmark. All right? Enjoy yourself, guys. This week's episode brought to you by Undergang Unlimited. Intro and outro music, MGT Beats. Catch a link to that on our About page. Interstitial music provided by RC this week. Once again, link to that on the show notes for this page. Please check out our website, undergang.net. Check us out on Twitter. We are the Undergang on Twitter. And remember, via our website, you can subscribe to the show on iTunes or Stitcher. You can write a review. You can tell a friend. You can do whatever you feel like doing. All right, thanks for listening. Catch you guys next week.